Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to Popternative. This is the talk show and podcast where we have digital discussions, worlds of TV, film, news, pop culture, everything really depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You'll recognize my guests from a lot of cool projects, but you will recognize her from When Calls the Heart on Hallmark. Loretta Walsh is with us. Loretta, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
I'm excited we're able to do this. It's interesting because, you know, you've worked on a lot of projects over the years. But is it safe to say that When Calls the Heart is something that's going to stand out? Because one, you have a very prominent role, a lot of episodes, but it's an important character. And there's a lot going on with that role and a lot of growth with that character as well, Loretta.
There's so much growth. I mean, I think that those fans who have been watching since the beginning really have seen such transformation for Florence, and particularly in season 8, which is right now. We're really seeing the end of a very important transformation for her. So yes, you know, I have done lots of work, but When Calls the Heart has been really kind of the gift that keeps on giving for many people, and myself included. And so I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I really always wanted to do an ensemble show for a long period of time, and this show has really turned out to be that. And so it's been fantastic.
Do you think, is it fun for you in terms of you, like, I like when you talk about the growth, and you've been on for it, your character Florence has been there for a good amount of time, and we could kind of explore the growth. Is it fun to you to kind of look at this growth, and sometimes the growth isn't obvious, or sometimes you have to go back and rewatch it and be like, wow, like she's acting different compared to what we would think she would do, type thing. That's interesting as well, to dive deep into the growth a little bit.
Totally. And I think, you know, sometimes, you know, as actors, we don't have a lot of control. So sometimes you'll get a script and go, oh, wow, we're going to open that door now. Yeah. Okay, well, that's really interesting. And so you have to think about and justify where that's coming from, you know, as the character. But absolutely. I think that, you know, when we first met Florence, she was in a really bad way. She was deeply grieving the loss of her husband. And so I think she's been on a real journey to heal. And so we've seen that in many different ways. We've seen her heal in effective ways, and also try some things out that haven't always worked. So it's kind of fun to play a character that's imperfect and that makes mistakes and has to learn from those mistakes, and is living within a community and a show in which the lesson is, you know, there is redemption. There is always redemption, and there is always room for learning, you know, like knowing better and then doing better, which has been
100%.
Fun thing to play.
But I think it's interesting too, because if I would ask any of your castmates from When Calls the Heart this question, everyone would have a different answer. That's why I like asking these questions, Loretta. I mean, there's a lot of things I think what people like about your show, When Calls the Heart. In your opinion, what do you think is hitting stride with the audience the most? Like, what aspect of the show are people, in your eyes, gravitating towards more? Is there one that you could think of?
You know, I think there's a lot of different reasons why people love this show. I think it's family friendly, so they can watch it with their kids, and their kids are also able to get something from the show while it still has content that appeals to adults as well.
Absolutely.
It really is. It has that kind of Little House on the Prairie kind of feel to it.
Yes, it does. For sure. It does.
You know, with Michael Landon Jr. being one of the creators of this world, with Brian Bird, I think they were absolutely inspired by that. I can't speak for them, but, you know, there certainly is that quality. But I think the big thing, you know, there's a lot of things that are appealing, but I think the big thing is, you know, that sense of community. I think that everybody, no matter whether you love living in the city or you love living, you know, in a way smaller community, I think having community, having people who have your back, who see the best in you, I think that's really appealing. And I think that people respond to that. I think that everybody wants their own kind of Hope Valley style community of people in their lives, and that just means people who love you and accept you and want to do things with you and, create a good life together.
Because it's interesting because I feel like, people, screenwriters and showrunners are not afraid these days to kind of throw a lot of different elements in. Like When Calls the Heart, you say it's family friendly, but there is a lot going on in it. It's a lot people like it's there's a lot going on. There's some complex storylines sometimes, a lot more than people think. You know what I mean? So I find it very interesting that they're throwing in a lot of these different elements into it. And I think, it is a show that you can kind of watch and just kind of enjoy and everything. But I don't think it's a show that you can kind of have like a sitcom where you could just have it in the background type thing. I feel like my friends that watch the show, like they're very like you're very dialed in when you watch the show.
Yes. And I would say our audience, for the most part, we have an incredible fan base.
Oh, fan base is amazing. Amazing.
I've never been a part of anything that has this extraordinary tsunami of fans who are so invested in the show, who love it and care about it so much. And what's lovely is that within those fans and within the people who create the show, there's also a community, through social media, through conventions, people are able to actually have a community that When Calls the Heart was the thing that started that community. So it's actually very lovely, in that sense.
For sure. Want to dive a little bit away from When Calls the Heart for just a bit, because I am a huge horror movie fan, and you had a chance to work, like we said, on a lot of projects, but you worked on The Sinners, which is a Canadian horror movie. I'm Canadian. I'm very happy that this is a Canadian film that was filmed in BC and everything. I love this film. This film is so good. This film is so dynamic for a horror film. What was it like working on this film?
It was a really fantastic experience. I mean, I know the director, Courtney Page, who, I used to teach her acting because I've been an acting teacher as well. And this woman, I wanted to do this movie because I really believed in her, because she gets things done. She's one to watch. She's writing, she's directing, she's acting, she's producing, and she is the kind of person that when she says, I'm going to do something, she really makes it happen. Yeah. So that's how I got involved. And I was really interested in the role. I played Brenda Carver, which is the lead girl's mother.
Yes.
And I was really interested in playing that part because I thought it was such an interesting character, because she's on the surface very much a put together pastor's wife, but she has her own secrets and she has her own things going on. And so I really enjoyed the complexity of that. And Courtney really got together an incredible group of people.
It looks amazing too. It's so it's stunning. When you think of horror movies, you don't think of sometimes like what it looks like. You think of the gore and the scares. This just looks amazing.
The cinematography, Sterling Bancroft was the cinematographer. And honestly, when we were shooting it, I was kind of looking around and going, Sterling, where's the lights? Where's the lighting? Is this going to look any good? And he is a brilliant talent. And I must say, I was so impressed. I am so impressed at the cinematography and how the film looks. It's beautiful. It really is a beautiful piece of art. Yeah. And performances are really strong, and it's,
again, ensemble cast, a lot of people, ensemble cast, right? It's important to bring that up because there is a lot of people that are amazing in it, and a lot of people have amazing opportunities with the screen time. Everyone shines, I find, which is something really cool about it too.
That's the thing with making movies and making TV shows. I think sometimes the actors get a lot of the glory because they're the ones who are the face of it. Mm-hmm. But it really is, it takes a village, and it is a team sport. There's no doubt. Every single person on those sets, they matter.
Absolutely. Now, there currently is a season of When Calls the Heart on right now.
There is.
It's happening right now, which is, it must be exciting for you, right? Where you're just kind of doing interviews and everything, and it's been all for like this is season 8, I believe.
This is season 8. Yes.
Season 8. Can you believe it? First of all,
I can't. I really can't. When I auditioned for this show, it was something that I was really wanting to do, an ensemble piece, and I was really wanting to do a project that focused on female friendships.
Yep.
How important that bond is, between the sisterhood of women, and how, we're so much stronger together. And so when I got this audition, I thought, oh, I think this might be it, because it was all about these women who had lost their husbands, who all had to band together and put their lives back together, essentially, and raise their kids and go to work together. And so it was really compelling.
Absolutely.
And so then when I got the part, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. But I think if you'd told me 8 years ago, this is going to go for 8 seasons, and your character is going to go through all of these different transformations, and we're going to get to see so many different sides to her. And the fans, are going to be this really epic force, and the ratings are going to be like the highest rated, cable show. I would have been like, what?
Have you seen some of the Facebook groups? Have you seen some of the Facebook groups on When Calls the Heart? Some of them have like over 200,000 members.
Yeah, I have.
It's crazy.
So they're so invested, and they're the reason why we've just completed 8 seasons of this show, and we're hoping to do more.
And it's interesting because another thing too is, and I think, interviewing people like yourself on my show, and keeping in touch with a lot of amazing storytellers and everything, it really hits hard. Like, I understand, like, that's another thing too, where the passionate fans, I mean, this is your job. Like, you're a storyteller, you know what I mean? Because of them, you get to have more seasons. It's like, they're very important. They are the reason.
That's right. If nobody watches the show, we don't have anybody to make it for.
Yeah.
Right? So absolutely, I have nothing but gratitude.
I think that kind of gets left, like, I think people don't, like, do you find that, it's interesting, we're getting a little deep here, but like, do you find that, because like, that's what you do to make a living. You're in shows and in movies, and you're working, and especially like, it's hitting harder for me now when I see like when a show gets canceled, right? Where it's kind of like there's a lot of people that won't be able to work on that project anymore. You know what I mean? That's what it is, right? When you're a fan, you're like, oh, too bad. But it's more than that, right, Loretta?
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. It is. Absolutely. I always really feel, for people when their show gets canceled. And sometimes, it really depends on the situation. Sometimes, people have sort of gone, we did what we wanted to do.
Yes, that's a thing too.
We did what we wanted to do. We're going out on a high note, and we're so proud of what we
accomplished. Absolutely, yeah.
It's on to the next thing, right? And then for others, it's devastating.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my goodness, we thought we had so many more seasons left in us. There were more stories to tell, and for whatever reasons, it's not happening. But yes, I definitely do feel for people. Sure. I do. I go, oh man, because
relationships
are made, and creative collaboration is happening, and it's not always an easy thing, but it can be a very joyful thing to be a part of creating these stories.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up too, I mean, just without any spoilers or anything, I mean, season 8, Florence season 8, what can you tell us about your experience playing Florence in season 8 of that script and everything, without super spoilers, but talk currently about the certain kind of current state of you playing Florence on When Calls the Heart.
I will say that season 8 is the best season for Florence ever. And that doesn't just mean that she's happy all the time. It means that so much happens for her this season. Yeah. And we get to see her more vulnerable than we've ever seen her before. And we also get to see her more joyful and happier than we've ever seen her before.
Yeah.
And that comes with some really personal and high stakes for her. And so, a lot of the season has aired already. and the fans are really, I think, responding and loving seeing some deeper layers and some new elements to this character. So there's lots, and I have so much gratitude to John Tinker, who is the showrunner on When Calls the Heart, who just came on for season 8. He was so incredibly collaborative and open to ideas, and between him and all of the writers and the producers and the network and the directors and the cast and the crew and craft services and everybody, it was an incredibly fun and satisfying season to shoot. So I'm excited for our Hearties to see how it's all going to wrap up.
I always feel like it's a really special moment where, you know, you work on a season of a show and you hear from all the cast and crew how they enjoyed it and it was a life-changing experience. And then it's finally out. Week after week, it gets put out. Like, I feel like that's like the coolest feeling.
It is. And it's a little bit vulnerable too, you know, because I was saying that to my husband. It was like I had a big episode airing, episode 7, in which Florence really hit some very, very deep vulnerability. And I said, you know, like it's kind of bringing up all of the things that I was feeling and thinking about when I was shooting that episode. And, you know, like, I mean, I guess like the grown-up part of me just goes, well, it is what it is. You just put it out there. And if people like it, they like it. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. But, you know, I said, there is a part of me that really wants people to love this, you know, because I put my heart and soul into it. And, you know, I think that's just kind of a really human thing. You know, we want it to go well. We want people to respond and to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Loretta, thank you so much for coming on Popternative. I'm really happy we're able to make this happen.
Thank you, Peter. It was such a pleasure.
Absolutely. So yeah, When Calls the Heart, season 8 on Hallmark right now, so they can watch that and everything. And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
You bet. You can follow me at Instagram and also on Twitter. And my handle is @Loretta_Walsh.
Amazing. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, it says Loretta Walsh from When Calls the Heart and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.